Good evening, everyone. Hope you are doing well. I, on behalf of my organization, welcome the panelists and audience to this webinar, which you, as you all know, is very relevant in the current times. Before getting into the discussion, I would like to take a few minutes to share some information about AIWC and us. The All India Women's Conference, or AIWC, headquartered at New Delhi, is one of the oldest non-governmental organization, NGO, in the country, which is dedicated to the upliftment and betterment of women and children. It is a non-political and a non-religious organization and is very dynamic in nature, with the object of educating women to rise up in the mainstream of society to take part in social, cultural, and educational activities. Several hundred local AIWC branches are spread across India. Over lakhs of members engaged in work on various issues as education, development, economic empowerment, and social welfare. The organization was founded in 1927 by the Irish-born theosophist and feminist Margaret Cousins in order to promote women and children's education and social welfare. Margaret Cousins appealed to the members of All Women's Association to unite and outline their thoughts regarding the educational reforms. A special conference was held at Fergusson College in Pune, formerly Pune. Most of the attendees there were observers, but others were women from the Raj families and the elite class. Miss Cousin brought together to create AIWC, one of them being Maharani of Gaikwad, a very progressive woman, worked towards education for girls, abolishing the Parda system and the child marriage, and was the first president of All India Women's Conference in 1927. Rajkumari Amrit Kaur was one of the founding members of AIWC. One of the first secretaries of AIWC was Kamla Devi Chattopadhyay. Members became actively involved in legislative advocacy at ending the practice of child marriage and securing women's rights to divorce and inheritance. The group also participated in efforts for women's working condition and to secure women's right to vote. Several members of AIWC participated in the framing of the constitution following India's independence. The great patriot, politician, orator, and administrator, Srimati Sarojini Naidu, was a president of AIWC in the year 1930, who brought out women from their kitchen to the outer world. Indian politician and diplomat Srimati Vijayalakshmi Pandit was also served as a president of AIWC. AIWC is one of the oldest branch centrals of AIWC. Calcutta is one of the oldest branch centrals of AIWC. In the year 1933, the first AGM of AIWC was held at Calcutta in the town hall. Kaviguru Rabindranath Tagore inaugurated the said AGM and composed the famous theme song Shankhochero Biubhalata Nijire Apuman for the AIWC women. AIWC is a member of several notable international forums, including the United Nations, ECOSOC, UNICEF, and many others. Our Regent Park branch, a constituent branch under AIWC Calcutta branch, established several decades ago in the year 1960, has been extending assistance to old age homes like Tollygunge Cheshire Home and Navaneet Tollygunge by way of donations since the last over, say, 3 decades. We also extend monetary support to school students and also for their higher studies. Primary objectives of our branch is education of women, health care of mother and child and senior citizens, to help and make women economically self-sufficient, to develop social and environmental awareness among women by conducting awareness programs and projects. Now, coming back to this evening's webinar, I am hoping that we would have some valuable takeaways from each of the panelists who are dealing with the current situation in some way or other. On this note, I'm happy to introduce Mr. Ranjan Chakrabarty, who will be moderating the session. Mr. Chakrabarty is a law and behavioral science expert and is a faculty member of Legal Aid Services Bengal chapter. He is also actively involved with many NGOs. Now over to Mr. Chakrabarty, please continue. Thank you.
Well, Madhumita, thank you very much. I don't deserve those kind words which were meant for me. But anyway, since I have been asked to moderate, I'll be moderating a webinar which is constituted by a panel consisting of 6 experts from different fields. We have 2 psychologists, 1 counselor, we have a lawyer, we have a fashion designer, and we have a retired teacher, a housewife, and who's also a vocalist. So we have these 6 panelists today. The pattern which we will follow today is we will have a question and answer session with each one of them. We have small slots for each one of them. At the end of each such slot, we will ask for an opinion from the audience on certain central theme of the particular aspect of the subject which has been covered by that panelist. And we'll take a very sharp opinion poll, 2 opinion polls after each of the panelists complete their talk or their answers to my questions. Without the subject for the webinar, which is a feather in the cap of All India Women's Conference, because in this current scenario, the most of the members of AIWC, if I'm not mistaken, with apologies to the president and the secretary of AIWC, Regent Park Constituent Branch, many of them are elderly people, if I'm not mistaken. And for elderly people to log on to such a webinar, we had heard of seminars, we had heard of web addresses, but having a webinar and getting that done on an all India basis requires a lot of courage and a lot of conviction. So I congratulate Madhumita and Lokhidi for this initiative. And I would now, without wasting much time, we will try to cut down on each of the time slots and finish our webinar by 6:30. This is our target. I would start off by asking and first introducing Navanita. Navanita is a psychologist. Navanita is a psychologist. She is the founder of Janania. She is based at Bengaluru, otherwise previously known as Bangalore. So, are you there, Navanita?
Yes, Mr. Chakrabarty, I am.
Navanita, my question to you at the outset would be, why do you think, as a psychologist, that mental health, a very neglected area so far hitherto, is so important, and especially in the COVID-19 scenario?
Okay, so thank you for that question, Mr. Chakrabarty, and good evening and hello to everybody present here. I would like to thank AIWC for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this webinar and, and address some really, really important issues. So coming back to your question, Mr. Chakrabarty, when we talk about mental health, before we go into the deeper aspects of mental health, what I would like to at the outset say that it's a very, very vast area. And, you know, you need to have many, many hours to talk and understand mental health, and still you will not be able to have the entire picture of what it is. But when we talk about mental health, we need to see that it comprises of number of things in an individual. It's biology, it's neuroscience, it's our emotional and mental health well-being, it's our psychological functioning, our own social structure and the system of social structure that we are all a part of, and the individual's very unique context through which, you know, they come from. So when we are talking about mental health, or when we are addressing mental health, we need to look at all these things together and not in isolation. When we are trying to understand mental health, it is extremely important that we do not generalize. Therefore, when we address any mental health concerns, we need to look at all these factors that work together. They work with each other, and sometimes they work against each other. And the individual's own context and our larger external context of society, community, tradition, culture, and religion. So all of these things play, work together, and they do a orchestrated dance together. Coming back to COVID and our mental health. So the times that we are living in right now, these are unprecedented times. We have never, anybody who's alive today has never experienced what we are experiencing today. So all the challenges, all the experiences that we are facing today are new and unique. And they are actually adding an extra bit of burden on the already distressful times that we were a part of even before COVID. So whether we talk about, illnesses, or whether we talk about limited resources, or do we talk about, other kind of, atrocities on human beings or the environment, it is actually adding pressure to the pre-existing already distressful conditions on this. And COVID has actually forced us to look at our own struggles and actually focus on the struggles of other people. With itself, it has brought upon a number of things. So let me just try and, put down a few things that I can think of what it has brought on with itself. So it has brought on uncertain times. We don't know how the reality will change. So today at 5 o'clock, we are looking at 10,000 cases. Within 2 hours, the numbers might change into 40,000 lakhs of cases. So we don't know the reality, and whether what is reality right now, whether the reality will shift or change in the next 2 hours. So it's uncertain. There's a huge sense of isolation through this lockdown, through not meeting anybody, the government imposed lockdowns, the physical distances. So automatically it has made us stay in our homes, and it has given us a sense of isolation.
Navalita,
Yeah.
I'll interrupt you for a moment.
Yes.
On this particular aspect,
Yeah.
do you think that women and children have been affected more seriously or differently by the COVID-19 environment?
Yes. So before I answer your question directly, I think COVID-19 and mental health has impacted everybody. Just the way COVID does not see discrimination in people, whether it's gender, class, caste, political alliance, religion. Similarly, mental health also does not discriminate. So mental health can be impacted of anybody. Having said that, women and children are more vulnerable to the mental health concerns that are directly related to mental health because of COVID. So of course they are more vulnerable. For children, the childhood that they know, the reality that they knew, the normalcy that they knew is over. The way they knew it is not there anymore. And of course, to understand it from a developmental perspective, or the consequences that how the development of a child because of COVID has gotten impacted, and the immediate effects, I'm sure Hemanti will address in her segment. So in a sense, yes, children are more vulnerable, and women are also more vulnerable to the concerns of mental health. Because I think COVID has deepened the pre-existing inequalities and exposed the gaps in our own systems, which has amplified the effects of the pandemic. So the multidimensional impact of COVID-19 has actually exacerbated the issues pertaining to women and girls, whether it is the economic disparity. We all know that, women, 70% of women are actually part of the informal sector of our work. So, so whether it's, increased care work, when I say care work towards their children, towards their, aged parents, towards the household, or towards the community. So there's an increased, increase of home chores, which in itself has added a burden, to the work that they were already doing. There's a lot of financial insecurity. Financial insecurity has increased. There's a lot of unpaid care work that they're doing, for which they are not getting benefited. They've never gotten benefited before, and now it's even worse. There may be neglectful environments at home, which invalidates their feelings, or hampers the communication that they want to talk about, themselves in the family. There may be psychological abuse in forms of manipulation, coercion. There's intimate partner violence. There is domestic violence and sexual abuse. So we are all been reading in our reports, it's been reported in the media that, across women helplines and children helplines, there have been an increased number of, distress calls to these helplines, because violence has increased, triple times than what it was being reported earlier.
Yeah. Navnita?
Yeah.
Navnita, we are all under stress.
Yes.
Under the COVID-19 situation, and more so for the vulnerable section of society constituting the women and the children.
Yes.
How necessary do you think is it to seek help? And how can women who are traditionally help givers seek help in the COVID-19 crisis? Women are traditionally help givers.
Yes.
We are used to women giving help. Now, how can you expect women to seek help because we are in trouble?
Yes. So seeking help is important. Seeking help is important, not only for our own self, but if we are seeing that somebody else is distressed. And, when you are seeing somebody having, a spike into their moods, or, they are talking about negative things, or if you're seeing that, they're irritable, or they're having a lot of mood swings, or they're fatigued, they're losing their memory, they are not being able to focus on things, when they are feeling, when, there are incidents of self-harm, or there is a lot of fatigue, body ache, so one is you identified within your own self, and one is you also identified within the others, and then, reach out to the community, reach out to, professionals who are out there to offer the help at this point in time. While we are talking about seeking help, what I would like to say something which is very, very pertinent, and this I've been reading up, and, when I've been studying as a mental health professional, that we need to identify the fact that the problem that the person is experiencing is not located within the individual. It is located outside the individual, right? So when we are reaching out to people, or when we are reaching out to professionals for help, we need to keep in mind, I'm going to say just 4 lines, saying that the person is not the problem is the problem is social, and the social is the solution. So COVID-19 and mental health, of course, it's affecting the person, but we need to see that the problem is lying outside of us. So the minute we reach out to the community, or the minute we reach out to somebody outside of our own family or a professional, automatically, the solution seems more viable, or it seems more accessible, rather than when we are trying to solve problems within our own self. And women are often told to solve their own problems, or the problems are negated, or they're invalidated. But it's okay, if you're feeling the problem, reach out, talk to people you trust, and go to a professional. I would like to see a silver lining in all of this COVID times before I end. Is the fact that now I feel that reaching out to a therapist or a psychologist or a counselor is a lot more accessible than it was before COVID times.
Yeah.
So therapists are, available online, whether through an individual capacity, or through an organizational capacity, or through an NGO or a non-profit. They're available in various formats, whether they are, asking you to pay, or whether there are lots of organizations offering free services, or a lot of therapists are on a sliding scale. So I think reaching to a therapist is a lot more accessible. It's not stigmatized so much as it was earlier. And I think right now people are finding it a lot easy to connect to a therapist than, and that is something that I've been seeing even with my own work, or with my own independent practice, that a lot of people are reaching out. It's not so difficult. There is not so much of stigma, and it's okay to reach out. So I think that's a silver lining. And, and when we are reaching out to people, or when we are trying to, when we are seeking help, we need to not blame ourselves. We need to not blame somebody else, and just, look for help within the community, within the people. And when we are looking for help within the community, or when we are putting the problem outside of us, I think it's a lot more effective than when we are trying to solve it within our own self. So that is what I would like to,
Well, thank you, Navanita. You have been very, very explicit. Although asking a psychologist to talk about such a vast subject, having so much of implications all around society, is very harsh. I admit that asking you to complete your whatever you wanted to explain and narrate within a few minutes was next to impossible, but you did a wonderful job.
but I'm glad you asked, because I think we need to have conversations around these topics, have a dialogue, because once we start having conversations, once we start dialoguing, is only when we start thinking of more and more things. So I'm glad that, you gave me this opportunity.
Yeah, you mentioned, Navanita, you also mentioned one thing, that
Yeah.
psychologists and therapists and counselors are more accessible, perhaps more in cities than in the rural areas.
Yeah.
But they are more accessible these days than
Yes.
possibly 10 years back.
Yes, absolutely. And I think
Whenever
even,
there's a crisis,
yes,
whenever there's a crisis leading to psychological crises, I think we have help at hand.
yes,
But as you said, we have to learn to seek help also.
yes,
Unless someone comes to you for help, you can't help that person.
yes.
So
Yes.
you are doing a work which is more of social work than a profession.
Yeah, so like I said in the beginning, mental health is a bit of both. It is a medical issue, but at the same time, I think largely it's also a community issue. So when you talk about, so of course, with this whole COVID-19, I would say that the people who are privileged are having it slightly more easier than the people who come from marginalized or oppressed communities, but everybody's having it tough, right?
Sure.
And I think when we go to remote areas, or when we go to villages, I think that inherently also they have this whole community system, wherein they lean on to the community, or to their panchayat, or to their own tribe, which I think in a city we are living in a much more isolated form.
Absolutely.
So, as long as you have your own tribe, as long as you have your own community, as long as you know when to seek help with whom, and it's okay to seek help. The minute that stigma goes, I think a lot of things,
Absolutely.
after that the steps are a lot more easier. That's what I think.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Navanita.
You're
I think
welcome.
our webinar today goes a long way in bridging this gap and making psychologists and counselors like you more accessible to people.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll have a rapid poll. Saurabh, are you there? Saurabh, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm there.
Okay. We'll have a poll now
Okay.
only for the attendees, those who are attending the webinar. We will ask a question and we will get the pulse of how the webinar is going. How many of you agree? You will have to go to the go to the option, and there'll be 3 options: yes, no, or maybe. The question being asked is, do you agree, or how many of you agree, that mental health is still ignored in India? We have 15 seconds to go. Those who are attending, you can use the 3 buttons, either yes or no or maybe. Do you agree with the answer that mental health is still ignored in India? We are waiting for the poll results. Have the poll results come, Saurabh?
Yes, sir, it has come. 93% of the attendees is saying it's yes.
That
1%,
mental health is ignored. It's still ignored.
yes. 1% is saying no, and another 1% is saying maybe. 3% is saying no, maybe.
Okay. Navanita, this is learning for you. Still
Yes.
ignored. Anyway, thank you very much. We have one more question for the audience and the spectators who are the attendees. Do you agree that women have a vital role to play in reducing stress in the COVID-19 crisis? Do you agree that women have a vital role in reducing stress in the COVID-19 scenario? Go for the options. Yes, you agree, or no, you don't agree, or maybe.
So the result has come up.
Yeah.
90% of the audience is saying it's yes.
Which
3%.
means that women have a vital role to play.
Yes.
90, what percent did you say?
But 90%.
90%, okay.
Yes,
That's
and
very, very
3% is saying no, and rest of 7% is saying maybe.
This is interesting. Namanita, food for thought for you. We continue with the webinar, requesting our next panelist, Ibha. Ibha Gupta. She's a retired teacher, and she's also a vocalist, and she's a housewife, and she's a senior citizen, all put together. So we have, and she's very articulate, I'm told. So Ibha Di, I would request you to share your thoughts on these aspects. As a former teacher, how do you think children are adjusting under compulsion to the new online methods of teaching? Now, online has come to stay. Even today's webinar is an online exercise. But the children were not used to this, and they are compulsorily being made to get used to it. How do you think they are adjusting?
Well, good evening to all my esteemed panelists, Mr. Chakraborty, our moderator, Madhumita, Secretary, AIWC Regent Park Constituent Branch, Lokhi, our President, AIWC Regent Park Constituent Branch, and all the viewers. I also express my heartfelt gratitude to AIWC Regent Park Constituent Branch for choosing me to share my views mainly as a...
This sounds like a vote of thanks. Go ahead. We are dying to hear you.
Yes, as a to request me to share my views in this webinar, mainly as a housewife, because I have retired as a teacher now, and I'm also thankful to all the viewers. Little did we think that an unprecedented catastrophe of such a magnitude, like coronavirus pandemic or COVID-19, would make the role of every housewife all the more challenging. And also, the term lockdown was very scary and puzzling. I'm a housewife and at present a senior citizen. As we, my husband and me, came to know about the term lockdown, we were puzzled and scared. To be frank, really. Initially, it was very scary. There are a number of factors behind it, behind of such a feeling, as no domestic help for our day-to-day work and procuring daily essential requirements from the market. These were the main concern for me, at least. My husband has some health issues, so he was prescribed to stay home. And eventually, I was compelled to do all the outdoor activities in spite of my arthritic pains. But at this time, my childhood learning came in as a rescue. I quote, "Man like Cassia is proved best being bruised," pointing to the inner strength of our character, which makes its way through adamantine walls of difficulty. Mask and sanitizer has become a part and parcel of our outdoor activities. People like us who find it difficult in handling smart TVs and smartphones are compelled to do
Vibhadi,
online shopping.
Vibhadi, just a second. Coming to smartphones,
Yes.
I would request you to also give some thought and dwell upon how the children are using the smartphones for taking online lessons and how
I'm
they are
coming to it.
adapting to it.
I'm coming to it.
Yeah, yeah.
I shall try my best, though I am not doing that practice anymore now because I'm retired. But I'm definitely coming to a question
You are retired but
after I
not
share
tired.
after I share my views.
You are
Can
retired
I?
but not
Will-
tired.
Thank you. Will you allow that to me?
Yeah.
Yes. Next comes a rare thing. It was a rare sight to watch police patrol in the local market who were cautioning the customers to maintain social distancing, which is another a very new term to all of us. We Indians are very much in favor of hugging each other when we greet, but we have forgotten to do that now. And I don't know when we will again be able to do it. But with all these uneasiness, I tried my best to keep my mental poise with books and, of course, music. I love listening music, and music is my passion with which I can keep my sanity by singing. With all these, we cannot also forget the impact of Amphan in Kolkata, which disturbed our daily life immensely amidst the lockdown. Many people have lost their houses, their belongings in many remote areas. At this point of time, I feel proud being an AIWC member, and we try to be with them during their difficult times. We have distributed essential requirements to our cleaners and helpers of our respective apartment buildings during lockdown, and a very good amount of essential requirements have been sent to for the help of the victims of Sundarban area from AIWC Regent Park Constituent Branch. Now, this is in short my feelings during this period as a housewife mainly. I would also like to share experiences of some of my close family members who also play a vital role in the present society and in this situation. For example, my daughter-in-law, who is an IT professional with a very demanding job. According to him, lockdown was helpful for her to look after her son's studies, to nurture her beautiful garden, as also to keep herself fit physically as well as mentally by going through the online yoga classes. On the other hand, my niece, who is a chartered accountant, according to her, it is a good opportunity to spend quality time with children, but they have been struggling to manage children, work from home, as well as doing all the household chores alone without maid. Now here I would like to answer the question which has been asked earlier by Mr. Chakraborty, that how children are coping up with the online classes. As I have found out from my family members, it is difficult for them, especially for small children of age 4 to 7. They need constant assistance from their parents. And it is causing a lot of indiscipline as well, because they are not in a classroom situation. They are all alone, sitting on a chair, assisted by the parent and taught by the teacher from the other side of the screen, which is difficult for them. And for the grown-up children, they are losing their discipline. They are losing their attention capacity. This I could know from my sister, who is a retired professor and an educationist. And she is lucky. Yes.
I'll interrupt you for a moment, and taking a cue from this particular statement of yours,
Yes.
I request you to share with us what activities would you suggest for children to fight off this crisis, because they are cut off from schools and colleges, they are cut off from their friends, they are cut off from socializing. What activities would you recommend for children during this period so that they can cope with this crisis?
Oh, well, as I find, this children will be given help to read books, which is difficult nowadays because they are very much in favor of playing with the phones and tabs. But if they can spend some time on reading books, some physical activities inside their house, which is difficult. But if again, the parents have to take most of the brunt, I must say, that they have to keep them engaged, because they are only spending time nowadays with their parents. So parents have to take the initiative to find out ways like giving some physical activities, playing with them. As I have found with my niece, she is doing the artwork, craft work with her child, and finding, though it is becoming difficult, because my niece is also a chartered accountant. She also has her work from home, which is very fluid, no time maintained, as well as very demanding. But at the same time, as parents, they have to look into it and find some ways to keep their children busy. That is true. Definitely true. I would also.
Thank you very much, Divadi, for sharing your thoughts.
Mr. Chakraborty, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you just give me another 2 minutes time so that I can ask some question to my esteemed panelists, which are of great concern according to me.
Go ahead.
Okay. Before concluding my views, I shall like to invite attention of our respected panelists to important concerns, which according to me is vital in the present situation. I have come to know from newspapers that women who lives in small hutments in slum areas as well as in Basti. They are confined with a number of family members in a small room, maybe of size 10 by 10 or less. And they are constantly exposed to mental and physical abuse by the male members of the family who are, due to confinement and lockdown, jobless. Number two factor, as a teacher, I feel anxious for those students who reside in remote areas where there is a lack of infrastructure, like which may help them for online classes. They not only go to school for passing out their exams, they also learn community living, discipline, health and hygiene, cultural activities, our heritage, and so on and so forth. If this situation continues for another 6 months, how will these children be taken care of? These are the two main questions. I shall request our panelists to share their views on these concerns so that can help AIWC formulate guidelines for awareness programs for the benefit of women and children in particular.
Thank you, Evadi.
Thank you very much.
Time permitting, we will pose these questions to the panelists, time permitting, at the conclusion. Okay. Thank you very much, Evadi. We will have a rapid poll now on the basis of whatever you have shared with us. Saurabh, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Yeah. The question being asked to the attendees who are attending the webinar and to also ensure that they feel involved and they feel interested in the proceedings. One question now going out to all of you, except the panelists, is this. Do you agree that school and college going children are more stressed than others by COVID-19? Either yes or no or maybe. You are free to go to the poll. Press the button which you think is suitable. Just a few seconds to go. Yes, Saurabh, are we ready?
Yes, sir. We have got the results. 68% of the audience is saying it is yes.
Okay, that school and college going children are more stressed than the other.
Yes.
Okay, that's a very vital feedback.
And 10% of them is saying no, and 23% of them is saying maybe.
Maybe, okay. Some 23% as high as 23% are undecided.
Yes.
Okay, we'll have one more rapid question.
All right.
For the those who are attending. Do you agree that mothers have to give more time to their children to cope with stress in the COVID-19 crisis? Do you agree that mothers have to give more time to their children to cope with stress in the COVID-19 crisis? Go to the options and go to the polls, either yes or no or maybe if you are undecided. A few more seconds to go.
So result came up.
Yeah.
85% of the audience is saying it's yes.
They need to give more time.
Yes. 9% of them is saying no, and the rest 6% is maybe.
Interesting, very interesting data. Although I was informally asking, interacting with certain children, and they would have less of their mothering them during the COVID crisis than in normal times. But we all mature people, we think that we need to give more time, but more time could be possibly quality time and not just time. Otherwise, they would get fed up. So we take this webinar forward by going to another section of society, the legal fraternity, a lawyer. We have a lawyer amongst us who practices in the High Court. We have Simoy Chatterjee Singh with us. So, are you there, Simoy? Yeah.
Yes, good evening, sir.
I would request you to share your thoughts on how do you think women litigants and women lawyers have been affected by the COVID-19 crisis. The focus today is on women and children. So not that the others are not facing crisis, not that I am not facing crisis, but how would you say the women litigants and women lawyers are affected by the COVID-19 crisis? Yes, Simoy.
Chakraborty, good evening everyone present here. And I will take this opportunity to thank AIWC for giving me this opportunity. Coming to the question, as a women lawyer, regardless of where one looks, it's the women who bears most of the responsibility, be it household chores.
Can you come closer? Can you come closer to the microphone?
Looking after the children or the elderly. As particular for lawyers.
Simoy, can you come closer to the microphone?
Is it clearer now?
Yeah, now it's clearer.
Okay. Now. For women lawyers, most of them are facing challenges, mainly those who are engaged in private practices. Like in private practices means that for courts being closed for long duration. Okay. It means that there is fewer number of cases are coming up, and new fresh cases are not being filed regularly. It's only the urgent and important matters that are being taken up. So that way, if we evaluate for lawyers who are in private practice, income is getting hit by this pandemic. Because for lawyers and practicing lawyers particularly, it's a daily basis earning. So closing of courts for long duration means their income is coming to a standstill. And for women especially, this is affecting because some women lawyers whom I know are single mothers. So they have responsibility of managing their children as well. And other who are also maybe in fighting some battle with their spouses regarding some divorce matter or matrimonial suits. That suit or any maintenance that they were getting from their husband, that is not being regularly taken up. So financially they are suffering. And for those litigants who are facing any domestic violence, or maybe they want to file for a divorce case or a judicial separation, they cannot move court right now. So that way they are stuck with in the wrong place. So that is affecting both.
So I understand, Simoy, that the reporting of crimes and the reporting of litigations, that also has gone into hibernation. And so also are the litigations in the courts. Everyone is going through a doldrum.
Yes. Well, on one hand, there are decrease in number of maybe road accident cases, and cases coming for that has reduced. But on the other hand, the cases concerning for violence and offenses against women and children, that are on the rise. But not all cases are going to court or to the police. So those cases are confined within the four walls.
No, one aspect which had been pointed out by Ibadi was the possibility of domestic violence.
Yes. Domestic violence cases. Yes, domestic violence cases globally has gone up. It has risen for India. Domestic violence cases are on the rise because maybe all cases are not reported, but definitely cases have gone right. When people are staying enclosed spaces. So there is bound to be some issues, some clashes coming up. And women and children are the ones or the weaker person who is facing this. Be it physical abuse, mental abuse, the most affected people are the women and children. All sorts of frustration. Yes.
Would you, Simoy, would you as a mother, you're a mother of 2 children,
Yes.
2 small children.
Yes.
Would you as a mother feel that you can now give greater time to your children in the COVID-19 scenario, and do they welcome it?
Well, my kids are very small. They don't really understand maybe the difference between me staying indoors
So you are
24
going out
hours,
to
but
the courts and you are
uh,
going out to your chamber, and you are not going out and
not
staying
going
home.
out is affecting, maybe I'm around for them, but at the same time, I think it's quality time what matters. I mean, just being around and doing my work and not giving time to listen to what my kids have to say doesn't really help. So even if it's for 5 minutes, the quality of time is what matters. That is what I feel.
Okay.
But for in this pandemic situation, no doubt, women are burdened with all sorts of responsibility, managing household
I
chores.
have one more question for you, which is we are having online classes in the field of education.
Yes.
Would you suggest online conferencing with your clients and online adjudication in the courts
In the current
in the COVID
situation,
crisis?
yes, in this current situation, that is the only way forward. But again, we are reflecting on mainly the urban areas in cities. But if we look
Okay.
at the vast rural people, they do not have access
They
to
don't have access. Yeah.
access to an online court. So this cannot continue for a long period. Maybe for this pandemic situation, we are bound to only focus on the online courts, and we don't have any option. But this cannot be the way forward for rural people, at least, because since they are
Okay.
not access to any technology,
They are
they
the
won't.
majority.
That's the majority. For Indian population, majority is
Yeah.
rural India.
Thank you very much, Simoy, for sharing your thoughts. We'll have a rapid poll. Saurabh, you're there? Saurabh, you're there?
Yes, I am here.
Thank you. Saurabh has been working day and night for making this webinar come through.
No, it's all right, sir. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. The question for the audience, or for the spectators rather, is: do you agree that crimes in the COVID-19 times have increased? Do you agree that crimes in the COVID-19 scenario have increased? Either yes, go to the poll, yes or no, or maybe if you are undecided. A few more seconds to go. You have 15 seconds for each poll. Yeah, have the results come, Saurabh?
Yes, sir. We have the results now. And 20% of the audience is saying yes.
What percentage?
28% of the audience is saying yes.
Okay.
22% of the audience is saying no. And 50% of the audience is saying it's maybe.
Okay. This is very interesting. Very interesting. Food for thought for you, Simoy.
Yes.
We'll have a rapid, one more sharp snap poll. Audience, do you agree, or how many of you agree, that children are getting more time and attention from their working mothers because of COVID-19? Either yes or no, or maybe if you are undecided. Whether children are getting more time and attention from their working mothers because of COVID-19.
We have the results, sir.
Yeah.
84% of the audience is saying yes. 6% of them is saying no, and rest 9% of them is saying maybe.
Okay. So a very high majority are thinking that they are getting more attention, but there could be a limit to that. More attention beyond a threshold point could be rather intolerable. Anyway, we take the webinar forward. We go over to a child psychologist who is amongst us. We have Hemanti Mangal. She's a child psychologist based in New Delhi. She's the founder of the Healing Nest. And we'd like to ask her to share her thoughts. Hemanti, you are there?
Yes, I'm there.
Hemanti, you deal with children, and
Yes.
can you share with us how they manifest their psychological distress?
Sure. First of all, good evening, everyone. It's a great honor to be here with AIWC, and I look forward to help all of you understand how children are dealing with the pandemic. Going back to the question, so presently, children are the one who's so obviously for all of us there is a lot of irregularity, but for children it's a huge disruption in their routine. Since schools are closed, children are not getting the required stimulation and structure that is essential for their development. And of course, all children are perceptive to the change, but they have difficulty to understand and to express. As we are expressing, children might not be expressing. So of course, children express their distress by acting out in different ways, and each child does it in a different way. So there could be some children who are silent, who become withdrawn. There would be some children who become hyperactive, who are just moving around in the home much more than usual. There would be some children who would have aggression or would suddenly become very aggressive to small stimulations coming from here and there. There would be some children who would be frequently complaining of stomach in the pain. There's pain in the stomach, there's a headache, fatigue. I'm not feeling, the child is not engaged in playing, or there would be a decreased interest in playing. There would be crying, or there would be unnecessary tantrums by the children. So these are the manifestations where the child is saying something to us as an adult, that there is something not okay with me and my routine is disturbed and I am feeling distressed inside. So these are the signs which we as an adult have to look out simply, and not feel that these are behaviors targeting to the parents. Sometimes these are just manifestations of how I'm feeling inside, because I don't have the words. So I'm talking about an age group between say 3 and 5 who are not as expressive as an adult. Like how we are here discussing, a child would not get that opportunity or might not discuss their emotional well-being. So yes, these are the signs they're going to show us that I'm not okay. So yes, these are some of the manifestations I would say, but as an adult, our goals are bigger.
Taking a cue from this, whatever you have shared with us, how do you think parents can help children to cope with this stressful situation?
So first of all, parents have to validate the emotion that yes, acknowledge that yes, something is not okay. Yes, the routine is disrupted. Yes, you are sitting at home. I understand that everything is not okay as it is. As we are talking about elders, similarly with children, we have to acknowledge it. So when we talk about this, we can also mention a word called as empathy. So when we talk about empathy, empathy means being on the other person's shoes. So actually thinking that how your child is feeling at that time. So if the child is hyperactive and running all around the house, we take a few moments, and yes, it is difficult for the parent also, but also if we think from the child's perspective, you take 2 minutes and understand something is not okay with the child. He's trying to say something. Acknowledge that he's trying to say something. That's the first thing. The other thing is, as parents, we have to avoid being talking or watching a lot of COVID news in front of children. As parents, we have to take that as an option. So we are often discussing among adults or people or on the phone in front of children about COVID-19, and this has happened and that person has hospitalized and this person is there. So we are talking a lot and children are getting affected because they are all around us. So we have to be cautious of not being talking such things openly in front of children, because what information he is processing, we as an adult are not sure. So little bit information to be shared to children. The next very important point is that we have to create a routine for them. Again, routine means there should be a certain time that the child is getting up every day. There should be a certain time every day the child is getting his food. I'm just talking about the basic routine. So if the child is talking about, I'm talking about food, sleep, play, simple thing, but it has to have in a certain everyday, I mean the everyday it has to be on the same time, because then my anticipate, I'm able to anticipate what's coming next. So okay, now I'm going to eat my lunch, and after that I can watch, say, a video.
Very vital. Yeah.
So if the child knows beforehand that after breakfast I'm allowed to play, and after that play I'm going to go and sit and study, and if I have that routine, and a basic routine, not very meticulous, but a basic routine which should be followed throughout. And also the child should be embraced with the new schedule, which we talk about, the new normal, which we are talking all the time, the new normal, that the mother is home, the father is home, everybody is home, and the child is not used to seeing so much around. So also acknowledge that yes, this is the new normal, and create a schedule or create a plan, a routine with the child, engaging with the child. It's going to help a lot.
Thank you so much, Hemanti. I wish we could have had more of sharing from you.
Yes.
We'll have to try to accelerate the webinar slightly now in order to adhere to the time schedule which we are wanting to adhere to. So we will have a rapid poll. Thank you very much for your suggestions, and which are very vital in the sense that you said one thing, which is many parents normally are denying that things are not normal. So what you said was you accept first that things are not normal. That is very vital. And then the suggestion that you gave about the routine and about a pattern, if all patterns are upset, then everything is upset.
Absolutely.
These are very vital learning points for parents like Srimoi and parents like Srimoi among the panelists. Food for thought for you too. Okay, we'll have a rapid poll for the audience. How many of you feel that children are the worst affected by the COVID-19 crisis psychologically? Children are the worst affected. How many of you say yes? How many of you say no? And how many of you are undecided? Are we ready, Saurabh?
Yeah, the result is 63% of the audience is saying it's yes.
The children are the worst affected.
Yes. And 22% of the audience is saying no. And rest 16% of them is saying it's maybe.
Yeah, Hemanti, food for thought for you. We'll have a rapid one more poll for the audience. Do you agree that parents should give space and freedom to children to help them reduce stress? Parents should give space and freedom to their children to reduce their stress. Either yes or no, or how many of you are undecided?
The result is 91% of the audience is saying it's yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
And rest 9%.
91% say that parents should give more space and more freedom instead of being after them.
Yes. And 9% and rest 9% is saying it's maybe.
Okay,
And 0% is saying no.
that's interesting. No one is undecided.
No one is
Everything
undecided.
decided. Okay, thank you very much. Hemanti, that was very, very good.
Thank
We take the webinar forward in a slightly accelerated mode. We come over to another section of our society and another section of our panel. We come to Anuradha. Anuradha Ramam. She's a fashion designer and she's was based in Calcutta. She was from St. Xavier's and she is now based in Delhi. And she has a number of outlets all over the country. And my question to you, Anuradha, are you there? Anuradha, are you there?
Yeah, hi, I'm there.
Yeah, hi, Anuradha. You are a lady entrepreneur.
Yes, I am.
How have you been affected personally as a businesswoman and also as an employer of employees, which includes artisans, weavers, and others? There are two aspects, you as a businesswoman and you as an employer. How have you been affected? Yes, Anuradha. Anuradha, you are there?
Hello.
Anuradha seems to have got out of the connection. Anuradha, are you there? Saurabh, can you help?
Let me check with her, sir. What happened?
She may have got accidentally disconnected.
Yes, sir. I think she has lost the internet connection.
Okay, what we will do, we will get back to her while we wait for her to get back. We will go over to the next panelist.
Yes.
Instead of waiting for her, we will wait for her. We will not dismiss her. We will wait for her to get back. So we go over to, we have a counselor amongst us.
I'm sorry, we went out of circuit. Yeah. Can you hear me, Anjan?
Yeah, are you there,
Yes.
Anuradha?
Yes. The line dropped and I had to rejoin the meeting. Sorry for
Okay.
that.
Go ahead.
So the question is how, as a businesswoman,
Yeah, and as an employer,
okay.
you employ weavers, and you are not only employ, you have associates.
Yes, yes.
You have to interact with them as associates, weavers and cardigans. How have you
Yes.
been affected? Yeah.
So I am an entrepreneur, and you know who an entrepreneur is. Somebody who's always taking risks, even without knowing what's in front of them or what the future holds. And, you know, it's what to
Anuradha, we want to see you. Yeah. Don't stop your video.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur, I've been working at the grassroots level with weavers and my printing units and people with whom I work from the zero stage. We create something from the yarn stage, and then we print and we value add, and then we create something different, completely surprising, but a new element. So this is the process of design. So that's how I've been working with lots of grassroots level people, like the weavers and my printers and the embroiderers, so all of them together. So the entire scenario changed the moment this COVID-19 introduced itself, basically. How did it change? As a businesswoman, I found that our stores across the country just stopped getting any footfall. There was no business, absolutely no business. People were scared to step out. Though the economic conditions were anyway bad, it was not that we were at the sixth heaven and, like everything was perfect. But it's that you are always trying to make things work, being innovative, being creative, taking out, as I told you, like, parrots out of your hat, basically making things work. That's what an entrepreneur does. And also looks after the entire responsibility, which is her unit, which is her company. But the way these surprises and shocks come up, and you have to continuously innovate or evolve and keep doing something new. So supporting my craftspeople at the grassroots level, encouraging them not to lose hope, to believe in themselves and to not become Darwans or, just think that life is over, always holding their hand financially and helping them to run their families and giving them hope that this is going to be over. We are in it all together. It is not the end of the world, though you might be sinking inside, but you have to show a face because you are responsible for them. You are their life. You are holding their heart, soul in your hands.
Anuradha, I'll take a cue from that statement of yours of putting up a front.
Yeah.
The question to you is, how do you still find the strength to motivate yourself and also your employees and associates? How do you do it? We want to learn from you.
I believe that we all have this inherent strength in us. All of us. We just need to tap. We cannot say that we don't have that strength. All of us, each of us has that strength inside us. And it is our intent, our honest intent, which makes us do things with honesty and, the way we extend our hands to others. We don't need to have buffers full of wealth or, to be ultimate in your financially, but your intent is very important. And to believe, and you cultivate people, you believe in them, and then they give you their 100%, and it's your team. So today the time is not good, but that doesn't mean I'll just leave them and go away. This is the testing time. I have to, whichever way possible, I create business. I model from my own fashion line. I encourage people. I inspire. I dance. I twist. I do everything possible to show that nothing is wrong. Everything is going to work out. To be creative, to create work out of nowhere. That is my strength. And I believe in myself completely. I can do it.
I'm tempted to say that whatever be the business, basically we don't deal with fabrics or documents or machines. We deal with people.
Yes.
There's the HR person coming out. We ultimately deal with people. Even the lawyers, they don't deal with the legalities. They deal with people. So if the people are to be given the focus, then you get the strength to motivate them. Thank you so much, Anuradha.
Thank you so much, Anjan.
On what you said. Saurabh, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm there.
How many of you feel, among the audience, how many of you feel that women in business find it more difficult to cope with the COVID crisis than their male counterparts? This is an interesting question. A good learning for Anuradha. How many of you feel that women in business find it more difficult to cope with the COVID crisis than their male counterparts?
We have got the results, sir.
Yeah.
The result is interesting. It's 52% of the audience is saying yes.
Oh, that's a marginal case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
33% of them is saying no.
Okay.
And 14% of them is saying maybe and decided.
Okay, one more rapid poll for the benefit of Anuradha. Do you agree, the audience, do you agree that the more affluent woman should financially support the economically weaker woman in such a crisis? The more affluent woman should support the economically weaker woman in such a crisis. Either yes or no or maybe. Are we ready with the results?
Yes, sir. 75% of the audience is saying yes, and 0% is saying no, and 25% is saying maybe.
Anuradha, you are vindicated. Your actions have been vindicated. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Anjan.
sir.
Take the webinar forward. We come over to Luna Paul. She's a counselor. She counsels in schools. She counsels parents. She counsels distressed people, men, women. And my questions to you, Luna, as we take the webinar to the last stage, is you counsel distressed people. Do you think that your job has become even more challenging because of the psychological impact of COVID-19? In other words,
Okay.
more and
Good
more
evening.
distressed people and more challenges for you?
Good evening, everyone. Yes, the growing fear of COVID-19 has triggered immense anxiety, stress, and insecurity in the minds of people. The stress is manifesting in various forms. People with pre-existing mental conditions are feeling threatened with an overload of information about the pandemic. Human beings are social animals. They need to interact with each other. Suddenly, everything has changed. And they are required to maintain a social distance, which has affected them physically and emotionally. So changes in the structure and interpersonal relationship within the family as the primary unit of the society has affected badly in many cases. The added stress in the COVID environment is causing insecurity, helplessness, frustration, anger,
So
depression, and
I'll take a cue,
then
Luna,
they
I'll take a cue
post
from you.
counseling.
I'll take a cue from your statement. I'll ask you, how are you able to, as a counselor, how are you able to help these people to cope with depression, anger, frustration, helplessness? How do you do it?
Actually, as perception differs from person to person, the same problem or situation perceive it differently. So there is no single formula or solution for everybody's problem. No two individuals are same, so their problems are different. As a counselor, I hear out each individual's problems, try to build rapport. I discuss with them one-to-one and help them to come out with their own solution.
Okay. Well, we are running short of time now. We'll have a rapid poll. Thank you, Luna. We'll have a rapid poll, Saurabh. Audience, do you agree that counseling helps people to cope with stress? Normally, it's a good thought for you too. Do you agree that counseling helps people to cope with stress? How many of you say yes? How many of you say no or maybe?
We have got the results, sir.
Yeah.
It's 97% of the audience saying yes.
Good for the
And-
counselors and good for the psychologists.
And 3% of
Okay.
them are saying maybe,
Okay.
and 0% are saying it's no.
Okay.
Okay.
One more rapid question.
Sir, just give me a quick moment of time. I need 1 minute of your time because I need to add another poll from my end.
Okay. Go ahead. Are you ready with the question?
Good to go, sir. We can.
We can go ahead?
Yes.
Okay. How many of you agree that people should be encouraged to seek the help of counselors and also Navanita, psychologists also? They are the more expert variety of counselors when needed. How many of you feel that people should be encouraged to seek the help of counselors?
And the result is 90% of the audience is saying it's yes. 96% of the audience is saying it's yes.
It augurs well. It augurs well for the future of counseling.
And rest 4% are saying
Okay.
it's maybe.
Okay. Good. We come to the end of the discussions and the question and answer sessions with the panelists. We have had a revealing webinar today. I wish there were more people in our panel, more experts from more different fields. But we have had a representative field. We have had a lawyer. We have had a psychologist, a child psychologist, and a counselor. We have had a fashion designer, and we have had one retired teacher. So we have heard from different sections of society about the psychological impact of COVID-19 on us and how we are coping with it. The psychologists and the counselors have a big role to play, it seems, because they are the people who are trying to help people to cope with the distress.
Sir, sorry to interrupt you. We have a question from the audience.
Yeah, sure.
What are the legal resources women can take against domestic violence under the current circumstances?
How many questions are there from the audience?
Sir,
We
you
have
can
everything now.
sir, you can see from your end as well. There are 6 questions from the audience.
Okay. Go ahead with this question once again.
What are the legal resources women can take against domestic violence under the current circumstances?
I think I'll not go to the panelists. I'll answer it myself because of shortage of time. I think Srimoy represents the lawyers, and Srimoy, people of Srimoy's category will be the best persons to seek help. Go to your lawyer, seek help. If it can be dealt with at the counseling stage, go to a counselor like Luna. If it is beyond counseling, go to a psychologist. Navanita is listening. If it's beyond that, go to a lawyer. Because you try to sort it out in a mild way first initially, through discussions, through negotiations. If all that fails, then there's no option but left but to go to a lawyer and to go through a litigation. Am I right, Srimoy?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
There are some more questions from the audience which have come to us online. I'll rapidly go through them because we are running short of time. One was, what will be the consequences of not doing physical exercises because of home confinement. This has come from a senior member of the AIWC. What will be the consequences of not doing physical exercises because of home confinement? I think Hemanti, will you respond to this? Consequences of not doing home exercises, physical exercises.
So, physical exercises, if I could understand a little more, what kind of physical exercises are they talking about?
It could be yoga, it could be walking, it could be jogging. Because of the confinement, all these are restricted now.
Of course, for
Psychological
children.
impact of that.
So for children, it has a greater impact because children, their basics. So from 0 to 7 years, their major chunk of time should be in playing, which means physical play, which means movement, and that movement is actually helping in their overall development. So if we talk about gross motor development, fine motor development, it is all through the movement. So yes, if the movement is reduced, there is going to hamper the overall development of the child. So we have to figure out, even in our own spaces, how the child is using his own body, moving around, and allowing simple things. Even if it's like jumping on the sofa, that's fine, but the child needs to do a little bit of movement because there is no other space the child could go. But yes,
So get hold of very sturdy sofas.
Yeah.
To allow your children to jump on them.
Yeah. So obviously there has to be restrictions and disciplines around it. I'm not saying jumping throughout the day, but maybe you could have a jumping time where the child could jump for 5 counts and come down. But yes, create space. This is just an example, but create more spaces where the child could play.
Yeah, Hemanti, you are very organized. You think that even jumping should be according to a pattern.
Absolutely. For children, yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. We have one more question from the audience. This is a tricky question. Are women being empowered or disempowered by the present COVID crisis? Who will take this? Anuradha, what do can we have your take on this? Are women being empowered or disempowered by the COVID crisis?
Whether COVID or no COVID, women is always empowered.
Okay. But there's also saying, I'll add to that, Anuradha, I'll add to that, that when the going gets tough,
the tough gets going.
The tough gets going.
Yes.
So naturally, any crisis, and you are strengthened by that, not weakened.
Yes. Absolutely.
One more question coming up from the audience. Is this forcible presence of family members inside the family? Is it inspiring a habit of introspection, or will this lead to contempt because of familiarity? Too much of presence of the family members within the four walls, is it good, or too much of it is bad? That's the question.
We always have space around us.
Navneeta, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. I would not like to look at it from a good or bad perspective, but what I would like to say that when we are living with each other in close proximity without a break in between, contentious issues will come up. Areas where there is a conflict, they will come up. And, and it's important to dialogue on them, rather than run away from it. But I feel, and the feedback that I've got from a lot of people and from even my own personal experience, a lot of families are also trying to iron out issues, and at the same time, they're getting to spend time which they missed out on earlier. So I don't know whether it's good or bad, because I would not like to look at it from such a binary perspective. But issues will come up.
For a moment. Navneeta, I'm reminded of a situation which, Ibadi, you're with us? Ibadi, you are with us?
Yes, I am very much there. Yes.
This will interest you. When a spouse retires, is there joy or in the family for the other spouse? I have heard many spouses say But oh no, now I have to do with you throughout the day. I have to interact with you throughout the day. And they had been used to one of the spouse leaving and giving freedom to the other. And suddenly that freedom is lost. And then hell lets loose. I don't know whether this is true. Ivadi, your reactions?
Yes, even here I would go by Navanita only. I shall not say good or bad, but it is 50-50 for both of us, for both the spouses.
Wonderful, wonderful. This has been a wonderful session. For me, it's a learning for me from so many, at least 100 plus 8 ladies for one gentleman. It has been a wonderful session of learning for me. Thank you very much. I would now request Lokshidi to formally close the session with a vote of thanks. Lokshidi, you are there? Lokshidi, you are there?
Ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Lokshidi, please unmute yourself. These are the jargon which we'll be using. Mute yourself, unmute yourself.
Yes, yes,
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
yes. Hello and good evening to everybody.
Yeah.
It was really lovely hearing from everyone. I must thank all the panelists for taking out some of their precious time and come and share the invaluable information, thoughts, and experience during the COVID-19 pandemic period. I'm making my speech a little short. I have to thank Mr. Anjan Chakraborty, the moderator, Eva, Srimoyee, Navanita, Anuradha, Luna, and Shorab, who has been working round the clock behind the scene. I also have to thank all the attendees who came and joined the meeting. And last but least, I must not forget our secretary, Ms. Madhumita Mujumdar. Thank you, everybody.
Along with her daughter.
Oh, yes, along with her daughter. Yes, yes. Along with the daughters. Rimi, I think. Yes. And thank you. It was lovely, the webinar.
This is the problem which the president who has to offer a vote of thanks has. No one thanks her. So thank you very much to the president.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you
close
so
the
much.
webinar with thanks to all of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
very much.